morning, everyone, and welcome to this event. My name is Sophie Allen, and I'm pleased to moderate this i2i webinar. This has been organised by the i2i Consortium. Before going further, to ensure full accessibility and inclusion, I would like to inform you about accessibility and housekeeping rules. The event provides international sign interpretation. For those who would like to have the multi-pin option enabled, please contact the host through the chat box. There is also simultaneous audio interpretation in Bangla and English. Choose your preferred language from the button Language Interpretation at the bottom of your screen. You can also activate the real-time captioning in English. There's subtitles here on Zoom or through the external link provided in the chat box. For automatic captions in other languages, please access the external link and select your language through the flag icon. Please keep your cameras and microphones off when you are not speaking. Please use the chat box only for technical or content questions. This meeting is being recorded and will be shared online afterwards. A post-event survey will be launched automatically after we close the event. Please complete it. We will use your feedback to improve for the future. Now let me give you a little bit of background information. Innovation to Inclusion, i2i, is a 3-year consortium programme funded by the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. It's implemented by a consortium led by Leonard Cheshire, together with a diverse and complementary group of international and local organisations. The programme set out to develop, test and validate innovation and practices that would deliver direct and sustainable change to improve access to employment for men and women with disabilities in both Bangladesh and Kenya. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Sophie Allen, and I'm a disability inclusion and public health specialist with more than 20 years experience working in the UK and the international humanitarian development sectors. And I'm the head of the i2i Consortium. This is our last online event for the i2i Consortium. And over the next 2 hours, we will bring perspectives of some of the key players engaged in our work, show some examples of what has been achieved, and take a deeper dive into some learning from the last 3 years of this programme. At any point in time, if you have any questions about the content, please add them to the comments box. For the first part of the meeting, we're going to have a discussion with representatives of 3 of the key components from the programme. So first, I would like to introduce Salma Mahbub. Please switch on your camera, Salma. Salma is the founder and General Secretary for the Bangladesh Society for the Change and Advocacy Nexus, BSCAN. Salma is an important figure in advocating for the empowerment and representation of persons with disabilities in Bangladesh. And in her addition to her role with BSCAN is the General Secretary of the DPO Network, PNSP, and co-convener of the FAN-SA BD. I also will speak with Mike Babcock, who has been working for more than 30 years in the development sector and for more than 20 years in the civil society unit of the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. He's worked for both civil society and the UK government, championing focus on disability inclusion, LGBT+ rights, research and aid effectiveness. And also joining us will be Mrs. Jacqueline Mugo, who is a lawyer and advocate for the High Court in Kenya and is the CEO of the Federation of Kenya Employers. She is the Secretary General of the Business Africa Employers Confederation, is the first chairperson of the East Africa Employers Organisation, a member of the Management Board of the International Organisation of Employers, and a board member of the governing body of the International Labour Organization. So first, I'm going to start by turning to Mike. Mike, please switch on your camera and tell us a little bit about the FCDO's aim behind the Uka Connect programme, the ambition for the Disability Inclusion Consortia, and why this programme was important to the FCDO.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Babcock. I work in the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. And I was in charge of the programme Uka Connect, which funded this consortium. Uka Connect was a programme that recognised that one organisation did not have all the answers. So we were very keen to work with consortia, bringing together a wide range of different organizations to work on development challenges. We also recognized that we need new ideas, new ways of working, new solutions to the pressing, difficult development challenges that the world faced. We went through a long process of discussion with organizations around the world about what were the key development challenges. Disability inclusion was included in that and was selected as one of the areas. After a competitive process, we identified 2 consortia to work on this area. Last night, I went back to the original material I wrote promoting this project, the material I used to get the project approved. And it was such a joy to see that all of the areas that we thought the program was going to work on, it has delivered on the objectives. And I thought I'd just go through some of the points that I raised right at the beginning before the project started on what we thought the project was going to deliver. So it was talking about innovative solutions to complex problems, looking at sustainable solutions, working to actually deliver results at scale. Oh, this is another one which is so exciting, and the program has really delivered on it. Getting a whole range of different people together.
Whole range of people niye
to get a whole range of people together to deliver on development challenges. So bringing together policymakers, duty bearers, civil society, the private sector, and research, bringing them together to work on these difficult development challenges, looking at new ways of working, sharing tools and knowledge. So those were the areas that we identified right at the beginning. That's why we supported this program. And the program has been amazing at delivering on all of those. So it's such a joy to be here today to see the results of the program and delivering on exactly what we wanted the program to deliver on.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And indeed, I completely agree. It's been really exciting over the past 3 years to see how much the programme has achieved and how different people have come together to reach those achievements. And now I want to turn to one of the people that has been very involved in the programme and has certainly contributed to the many achievements of the programme. So Salma, Mike referred to lots of challenges that needed to be overcome with regards to the development of more inclusive practices for people with disabilities. Perhaps you could explain to us some of the challenges that you have faced and you're aware that other people with disabilities have faced, and what i2i has done to support overcoming these challenges.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk here. We are very pleased to be involved in this innovative program because this program involved the DPOs for the solution of the problems or challenges of persons with disabilities. You know that persons with disabilities has the many challenges to include them in the employment sector. So when the program started, they actually focused on the Article 27 and 28, which was very innovative for us to innovatively we discuss the problem and find out the challenges, and the format that was provided to us to find the gaps in the policy level and also the advocacy level to change those policies to create a new one if necessary. Through that, it tried to ensure an inclusive employment atmosphere for persons with disabilities. it actually intended to work for the benefit of job seekers with disabilities. It also tried to orient the employers about persons with disabilities and to influence them to build accessible environment of the different factories. You know that whenever we go for employment opportunity, or we try to engage people in employment sectors, we see that the employers' perceptions are not very high to accommodate persons with disabilities in jobs facilities. I will not say that it has changed a lot, but we are glad that a situation has been created that persons with disability organization and also the person with disabilities are now coming to the limelight, in front of the employers, so that they know that there are a huge number of persons with disabilities who are seeking for job, and they are also capable. But at the same time, the project also tried to introduce the different social protection schemes through the advocacy of DPOs, like caregiver support or transport support. We know that people with disabilities, severe disabilities, also working, but we have seen that the employers are interested very much to take the persons with disabilities who has the lower mild disabilities. Still, we face that challenges, but we are trying to talk to them. But I would say that the process that has been done, we DPOs are not engaged to directly talk to the employers for influencing them that which type of persons with disabilities are able to do what kind of job they can perform. So the employers are not really clear about the ability of persons with disabilities. Like if I say that persons with visual disability, employers are still finding the way how they perform their work. So there is a gap that they still don't know actually how to accommodate them. Still they are finding the person with low or mild disability. These are the things we are finding as the challenges, but we have tried our best to, through this project, working together as the 10 DPOs are working together in different way and influencing them to the for the potentiality of the persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Salma. And you raised some really, really key points there. And you've spoken quite a lot about the importance of getting employers on board and speaking with employers and supporting them to make their workplaces and work environments accessible and inclusive. So this allows me to neatly move on to our next guest, Mrs. Jacqueline Mugo. Can I ask you to start to speak with us a little bit and perhaps tell us a little bit more from your perspective on what i2i has achieved in Kenya over the past 3 years, expanding on why the engagement of employers is so important.
Sophie, we had Jacqueline, but unfortunately she left. So we're going to reconnect her quickly. So if you want to move on, I will let you know as soon as she's back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Mike, I'm going to turn back to you. And you talked a little bit about the need for innovative solutions and finding different ways of engaging with different groups of people. Maybe there have been some surprising solutions that have come out of the i2i programme, or some surprising challenges that have come out of the programme. Would you be able to speak a little bit more to these?
Definitely. There have been so many interesting and exciting new ideas coming out of the programme. There have been so many areas that have been proved in reality. There's so much learning that can be used by other organizations to implement these exciting new ideas. I mean, there's so many I can choose from. I'm just going to talk about 3 that really excited me. Data and evidence. Data and evidence, it's so important. And it's really interesting, the learning that's come out of the program on data and evidence. Data and evidence, building credibility of organizations, building the credibility of the approaches that have been taken. Data and evidence also, it can be used, well, not can be used, should be used to identify where there are gaps, where there is more work that needs to be done, where there are new ideas that need to be worked on, and where there are challenges that need to be addressed. And finally, 3rd one, data and evidence on challenging policies the policies that organizations, governments have, seeing if they actually are effective, seeing if they actually work, challenging them, testing them, and identifying how to improve the policies so they make real long-term change for people across the world. So those are just 3 that I found really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. And yes, some really, really exciting new data and really exciting research that really provides the much needed evidence base for change. Fortunately, I think we have Mrs. Jacqueline Mugo back online. So without further ado, I will introduce her. And Jacqueline, I was just asking if you could expand a little bit on why it's so important for us to engage with employers when looking at promoting more inclusive and accessible workplaces.
Before our system went off, I had my colleague Mahbub talking about employers and their attitude. It's important that the private sector and employers in particular get involved in this discussion and the interventions, because the idea is to provide jobs and livelihoods for persons with disabilities. And for us, this project has given us an opportunity to improve the labor market participation of persons with disabilities to work in the private sector. And this is a big global issue. There's a big global push by employers to expand their workplaces and to also have more diverse and inclusive workplaces. It is true that there was need for awareness raising to enhance our capacity to accept and to adopt our policies to accommodate persons with disabilities. Employers have a number of interventions, either through internships or attachments or direct employment of persons with disabilities. And this has made the private sector here, I think, more open to the idea. It's also given us an opportunity as the Federation of Kenya Employers to show leadership in this area. And through this project, we've been able to launch the KBDN network, which is a network of like-minded companies and organizations to enhance the employability of persons with disabilities in this country. And that project or network is only 2 years old. It was launched in November 2020. And so far, we are proud to say we have about 142 companies. And we also seen the employment of persons with disabilities increasing in this time. So private sector participation is important towards the realization of the aspiration of including persons with disabilities in work. I think looking forward, the important thing is to have a very strong ecosystem and for us to work better together with other like-minded organizations, but also as private sector players to do more together so that we can enhance the participation of our sisters and brothers who have disabilities to enter the world of work, and in a way also realize the aspirations of the global development goals to leave no one behind.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. And indeed, it's really about bringing multiple different people together and really working together to make sure that no one is left behind. So we've heard about the importance of evidence and research, the the importance of testing out new ideas, and most importantly, about the importance of bringing people together. So listening to people with disabilities and understanding what their needs are to promote a more accessible and inclusive workplace, and ensuring that they are able to raise their voice with employers and other people who are leading on creating change. And I want to leave the final words of this session, as there is still a lot of work to be done. I want to leave the final words of this session, or this first part of the session, with Salma, just to give us a very brief 1 or 2 sentences that summarize the focus that we need in coming months or years to ensure that what has been started under i2i continues into the future. Salma, over to you just for a final closing thought.
Thank you. This project actually ended in a sudden way, we should say. We just build up the relation with the employers. You know that the job fairs are now being engaged, being done in online. So many people are now participating in job market, job fair. That is a good thing. But I would like to say that if the DPOs could be engaged with the employers directly. Now we see that the media is another organization, or NGO or INGO is doing the media part, but we would like to be the direct talking point with the employers. I think that would give us the more result for the persons with disabilities. If any future program you design, we would like to request that you involve the DPOs directly with the employers, so that we could influence with our experience, our ability, that persons with disabilities can do jobs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Salma, and indeed a really key message there. So thank you for raising it. Okay, I want to move on to the next part of our webinar, and I'm going to hand over to Chris McWilliams, who is a communications consultant who has been working with i2i, and he's going to lead us through some examples of what has been achieved over the last 3 years, and where you will be able to find this information and evidence in the future. So I'm handing over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Sophie. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and thank you for joining us at this i2i closing event. Yeah, in the next 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to take a look at back at the i2i program through a brand new film that we have made. We're also going to look at the i2i Learning Legacy website, which is a resource hub where you will find lots of information about the program, its achievements and learning and approaches and so on. So we'll have a quick tour of that, and we will also hear from 2 representatives of organizations of persons with disabilities, one from Bangladesh and one from Kenya. I will introduce them in due course. So we're very lucky to have some personal testimony from our OPD partners as well. But we're going to start with the i2i film, and I'm delighted that a few people who have helped us to produce this film are on this call today. Angel, Elizabeth, Grace, Merteza, maybe some others that but I'm going to ask Raquel now to play the film, and hopefully you should all be able to see and hear that.
On a busy Dhaka street, Nishat checks she has the right money to pay for her rickshaw.
I am a human being. I have rights, but due to my vision, I cannot enjoy my rights properly.
Joshir is at the market in his wheelchair. He pays for some groceries.
Persons with disabilities are not offered a fair pay in the workplace in some places.
A woman works at her computer and a mechanic hammers metal.
So I think it's very difficult for a person with disability to have a good job.
Governments and workplaces have a responsibility
to ensure that we have
open and inclusive and accessible job market
and workplaces for persons with disabilities.
i2i, innovation to inclusion. Jane Wamugu, NCPWD Kenya.
The Constitution of Kenya 2010 stipulates that there should be progressive 5% of persons with disabilities in employment in the public sector.
Elizabeth Shakamiri, i2i.
It does not speak about private sector or civil society. HRs were skeptical about employing persons with disabilities.
Joseph Gary, Deaf Empowerment Kenya.
Many employers and bosses need awareness about disability issues. For example, they demand high qualifications in education that limit deaf people's access to jobs.
Grace Araba, job seeker.
I went to high school. I had to work very hard, but I did okay. In the outside world, life became so different for me. There were no jobs. I really wanted to go to college, but I didn't know how.
Shilpi Shathi, employee.
Even though I am eligible for the job, when they saw me, I am no longer eligible because I am disabled.
A busy Dhaka street. Joshia Shangma, job seeker.
If we look at the social infrastructure in our country, most of the job places are not accessible.
Nishat walks upstairs into a building. Mateza Khan, BBDN.
Previously, we've always heard employers saying we can't find candidates in a centralized way. Similarly, candidates saying we can't connect to employers who would necessarily consider people with disabilities.
Angel Perez, i2i.
The i2i is a 3-year program where we aim to improve the access to employment for persons with disabilities in Kenya and Bangladesh.
A young man uses the NCPWD career portal.
One of the key aspects of our program was to test innovative approaches to accessing employment in both countries.
Joshua looks for a job.
I registered in i2i job portal, uploaded all of my information there, and it came out like a CV.
Shilpi works at her desk.
My CV was submitted through i2i from partner CSID. There was a job fair happening there. They arranged this job for me through that job fair.
Joshua Shangma.
I got my first internship in Unilever. I worked there for 6 months, and I have seen the changes that was coming as employers are now aware of disability-related rights to access an opportunity to join a workplace and contribute.
Nishat enters the Berger Paints office. She works with colleagues. Rupali Chowdhury, Berger Paints.
People with disabilities, they cannot be left out. Without them, economic development of this country cannot happen. Some responsibility must be performed by the private sector.
Elizabeth Shakamiri.
We are glad that from the i2i project, private sector has started thinking about disability inclusion and saying they want to get to this point.
At a bakery, some women ice cakes.
So i2i has tested and has evidence to show that private sector is in a position to do that.
A man and a woman discuss work in an office. She leaves using a walking stick. Joseph Gary.
The deaf community has really benefited from i2i. They are registering for more job opportunities and have access to vocational training. About 120 deaf youths have gotten jobs through the project.
Mateza Khan.
We'd like to see many more chambers of commerce and employers associations across the country come into the disability inclusion space so we can bridge that gap between the demand side and supply side.
3 men look at a computer. 2 men fix an engine. Spencer Lugalia, employee.
If we are able to absorb these persons with disability as soon as they start their undergraduate or their vocational training, they are not seen as a person with disability. They are seen out of their own experience and of what they are able to provide for the job market.
A deaf man hands his CV to an employer at an interview. Shilpi wears a headset, then talks to a colleague.
I am very happy to get the job and I am very well now. Here I am working, where I am a disabled girl, but they will never think of me like that.
Jane Wamugu.
What I would want to see is employment of persons with disabilities being at the same level with the rest.
Colleagues talk in an office. Joshua searches Google.
i2i is like a mentor for us. They're providing us trainings, job fairs where we can meet the employers
Nishat is on a tea break with colleagues.
By what i2i is doing, I'm feeling much more confident and much more have the belief in myself right now.
I have the right to
adequate standard of living,
dignity,
equal opportunities and equal pay.
i2i, innovation to inclusion. Leonard Cheshire, supported by UK Aid.
Yeah, thank you, Raquel, and thank you to everybody who was involved in the production of that film. All the people that we interviewed, and the people who helped with the accessibility aspect, and the filmmakers as well, and people who helped to set all of that up. There was a lot of work that went into that, but I think you'll agree that it gives really good insights from many perspectives into the impact of the programme, and will be a useful resource that we will share around. We tried to make the film as accessible as possible. Hopefully we achieved that. There will also be a Bangla version produced in due course. So we'll share that widely when it is available. So we're going to now have a look at the new i2i Learning Legacy website. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that.
Yes, perfectly, Chris.
Okay. All right, so, and can you see the Zoom things at the bottom of my screen, or can you just see the website?
Only the website.
Okay, good. So this is the i2i Learning Legacy website, which again we've been working on for the past 6 weeks or 8 weeks with a team of web developers. We've also been gathering content and resources from throughout the program and information about the program. And the idea is that this website will serve as a lasting legacy and a resource hub of everything that the i2i program has achieved over the last few years. So let me just take you through it. You can see at the top there, we have an accessibility statement. Once again, we have strived to achieve the very highest accessibility standards. We've aimed for AAA standards according to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. We think we are just about there. We need to do a few more tweaks to make sure that it is fully accessible, but we have been consulting with specialists. So if it's not quite there at the moment, it will be as soon as we can. If I take you down the homepage, you can see there is Josh Iyer again, who you just saw in the film. And we have some fantastic photos from the i2i program, which have been taken over the past couple of years, which are throughout this website, which really captures the spirit and essence of the program, and shows people engaged in different activities of i2i. We're again very grateful to the people who sort of helped us to get those images, and we will be sharing them back with OPDs and other agencies where they were involved. Just going down the home page, you can see Angel has got lucky there. He is the chosen freeze frame, and that is the film that we've just watched. So you can watch it again on the website if you wish, and we'll put all the different versions of the film up there. Now this is a really interesting bit of the site. This is the on the home page, a link through to the resources hub, and I'm going to click through to that now. Now within this resources hub, which hopefully you can all see now, there are going to be around about 50 different resources there from the i2i program. There are recordings of all of the webinars that we've done through i2i. There will be case studies which have been produced through the course of the program. There will be all the videos that we have made as well. When we launched the i2i Career Advisor and the NCPWD Career Portal, we produced videos. They are on there. The sessions from the i2i Learning Conference last year. So all the blogs that have been produced from i2i, you'll see there are lots and lots of resources there from the program, again, covering every aspect of what i2i has done. And you can search using this filter here for different types of resources, whether you're interested in blogs or webinars or publications or learning, etc. And as we finalize different learning products from the program, we'll be adding all of those onto this site as well. The whole purpose of this site was not for that learning not to be lost, and for people to have a place to go to after the end of the program to delve into that learning, to inform future programming and way forward for inclusive employment in the 2 countries where we've worked and beyond. So if I go back to the homepage, just going a bit further down, there are links here to the career portals and also the disability data portal. So if I click through directly, I can see that Yussi is on this call from FUSU, and I'm sure some NCPWD colleagues are on this call too. So you can get straight through to the NCPWD career portal from the i2i site. Okay, just a few other features. If we go to About Us, that gives some background information about the program. There's a drop-down menu there where we can look at the impact and outcomes and outputs of the program. So what did i2i set out to do? All that is laid out here, and how we planned at the beginning of the program, how we plan to work with different groups and what we plan to achieve. There's a section about how i2i adapted to COVID-19, which obviously came right in the middle of the program. So we talked there about how we adapted to the pandemic and how we altered the activities of the program, and also used COVID-19 as an opportunity as well to sort of shine a light on inclusive employment issues. So that's the About Us section, lots in there. Then there is a learning section as well, where you will see a breakdown of work we did with different stakeholder groups. I'll just look at one of them, our work with OPDs. Again, you can see Joseph, who you've just seen in the film, Joseph from Deaf Empowerment Kenya. And that gives a breakdown, that section, of the different types of work we have done with OPDs in different ways, and links through to different things. And finally, learning approaches. This is a bit more of an in-depth look at learning within the program, and we also have a look there at the learning questions, which were at the core of the program. They are there too. So there's plenty of information here which covers all aspects of the i2i program, which you can browse at your leisure. But I'm guessing that the resources hub will be the most useful part, and a place where you can go to search for different things. There is a link through to different consortium partners as well, which says really captures just how broad the range of organizations that worked on the i2i program was. So they're the main consortium members. All of those logos are clickable, but then we also have a list of all the implementing partners, the OPDs that we have worked with, the technology partners as well, government partners. Hopefully they're all there. If we have missed anybody off, please do let us know, and we will add them on there. Shows the breadth of the network that worked on this program. And as with most websites, there is a way to contact us. So although i2i is ending, we do have a contact us form, which will go through to the inbox of either Leonard Cheshire or EDF. We're not quite sure yet where that email will go, but it will go to an active email address. So if you have queries beyond the end of the program, please get in touch with us there. So that is the i2i Learning Legacy website. We'll be sharing a link, I think, on the chat box There are still a few additions to be made to the site, but we're almost there. So please do use that. Please do share it with your networks and contacts, and go back regularly to find out what we all achieved together. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to introduce our speakers. And first of all, I'm going to introduce Grace Athe. Grace is a program officer for the Kenyan OPD Women Challenge to Challenge. She advocates for the rights of women and girls with disabilities, especially around sexual reproductive health rights, sexual and gender-based violence, self-esteem, and building their capacity by making them aware of their rights and how to seek assistance. Grace's passion is to touch and change the lives of women with disabilities, and she's going to give us her testimony about the i2i program now. Over to you, Grace.
Hi, Grace. If you can please unmute yourself and turn on your camera. I just sent you a request. Okay, maybe Chris, you want to move on with Shazad, and then we come back to Grace. I'm going to try to contact.
Yes, I will do that. Hopefully we'll get Grace back. I know she has a lot to say, but we will move to Shazad. Shahidul Islam Shazad is the founder and CEO of Disabled Development and Research Center, DDRC, and OPD in Chittagong, or Chattogram, Bangladesh. DDRC started working with persons with disabilities to make them more aware and organized. It has grown as an organization and currently delivers various development programs in the fields of education, health, livelihoods, and empowerment. And it's a real pleasure to introduce Shazad now. He's going to give his testimony of around i2i.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Shazad.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I have implemented lots of projects in my career, but in innovation to inclusion, i2i program was the unique project that I have ever implemented. Under the project, I have had the experience of working in collaboration with 10 more DPUs and work as a coalition to develop an advocacy strategy which leverages individual strength with clear goal. I have had experience with the data-driven advocacy to build the development of data gathering processes and tools into any advocacy strategy. This learning will be very useful in ensuring the rights of persons with disabilities. We are really glad that after a long wait, an online platform called IT Career Advisor has been created for people with disabilities in Bangladesh. The IT Career Advisor is designed to bring disabled job seekers to a place where they can submit their CV regularly. It's really great initiative for persons with disabilities. At the local level, Chattogram City Corporation Authority made a ramp for ensuring accessibility of persons with disabilities. Persons with disabilities had the opportunity to participate in soft skill training. A digital employment pathway has been created for persons with disabilities, where people with disabilities can submit their CV for employment. BD Jobs #1 job site in Bangladesh has been disability inclusive, and they have a separate section for persons with disabilities. In the local level, we have organized face-to-face meeting with Honorable Mayor of Chattogram City Corporation, Chattogram, for include disability issue in their plans, especially employment of persons with disabilities, easy accessibility, reasonable accommodation, etc. Organized advocacy meeting with Chattogram Women Chamber of Commerce and Industries Limited for tax rebate issue for private company to recruit persons with disabilities. we have organized advocacy and follow-up meeting with Tibetan Institute for ensuring accessibility and include personal disability in their different kind of training. In national level, we have a jointly prepared caregiver policy guideline for personal disabilities. Thanks to Leonard Cheshire for planning such a project. At the same time, I urge them to continue such a initiative for the disabled. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazad, very much indeed for those words. I think we, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to be joined by Grace. She appears to have dropped off the call. So we'll push ahead and maybe get her back later. But I'm going to hand back to Sophie now to take us on to the next section.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you very much for all of our contributors, as Chris mentioned, to the development of the great video and the content of the website. It wouldn't be possible without all of our partners. So before moving on to the next section, where we'll really focus on some of the learning from the programme and have some breakout rooms to get into a deeper discussion and to really understand how change took place, I want to invite you all to take a brief 3-minute break just to stretch your legs, have a bit of a sensory break, maybe close your eyes, relax, and just enjoy some tranquility for 3 minutes before we pick up the next piece of the webinar. Please don't be longer than 3 minutes. Okay, welcome back everyone. I hope you've had a moment to just stretch your legs or to energize yourself, or maybe you found energy in having a peaceful moment and relaxing. So now I want to take you to dig with us a little deeper into some of the learnings from the last 3 years. And this is going to be led by Claire Arnott, our Monitoring and Evaluation Manager with Leonard Cheshire. So I'm going to hand over to you, Claire, and you're going to introduce the breakout rooms and some of the topics that we're going to discuss over the next hour of this webinar. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophie. It's great to be here and great to see so many people here. As Sophie says, I'm the Monitoring and Evaluation Manager, so I'm responsible for coordinating and supporting a lot of the learning that's been happening across the i2i consortium for the last 3 years. And as I'm sure many of you will be aware, i2i was designed as a kind of learning program. So we focused on piloting innovative approaches to kind of some of the challenges and capturing these learnings to share. So I quickly wanted to give you a little bit of background into this. So I'm going to put up. Oh, I didn't think this through. I now can't see my notes, so you might have to leave it like that. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, thanks, Claire.
Amazing. So yeah, as I said, i2i was designed across these kind of 6 learning questions. So everything that the program did, both in terms of programmatic work, but also in terms of kind of learning and reflection, was around these kind of 6 questions. So it's how can accessible technology be effectively used to effectively engage and retain men and women with disabilities in work? What works to create an inclusive social protection system enabling women and men with disabilities to participate?
Hi, Claire. Sorry, very quickly. You need to speak slow, even if we read, otherwise the interpreters might miss your message. Sorry, thank you.
No worries. I will endeavour to go a wee bit slower. So what works to create an inclusive social protection system enabling women and men with disabilities to participate in salaried employment? How can DPOs engage more effectively in national data collection mechanisms? What works to support women and men with disabilities at highest risk of exclusion from employment? How can governments best be supported to implement and/or improve disability, age and gender disaggregation of data collection analysis related to employment and social protection policies and programmes? And finally, what works to support the private sector to become more disability inclusive? Let me just stop sharing my screen so I can go back to my notes. So we utilised a number of different approaches to build these questions and learning practices into our programming, into our activities, looking for kind of iteration, adaptation throughout. So these included things like having thematic working groups that looked at specific elements of the programme. We had learning logs where partners could record kind of small, big, any kind of learning that kind of came up in the day-to-day delivery of the programme. We had regular evidence and sharing and reviewing sessions where we would kind of do a deep dive potentially on something like gender. We would do kind of quarterly progress reviews, and we had learning newsletters. We also had standalone activities. We had a midterm review that was conducted in March 2021 and a final independent evaluation that is in the process of being finalised at the moment. We also had, as part of our UK Connect programme, a health check that was conducted through that programme that looked at the various elements of consortium culture, consortium approaches and relationships, that was conducted in late 2022. So yeah, as I said, through these activities, we learn a lot about kind of designing and delivering activities, how these feed into wider programmatic organisational and national aims, delivering as a consortium, and how innovation can lead and build change. So many of the resources I've just cited, along with others, can be found in the resource section of the website that Chris has just introduced. In addition to all of this, each question had a final learning paper, which will summarise and reflect upon what has been learned across these areas. Some of these are already up on the website, and others will be added in the coming weeks as they are finalised. And as you can imagine, a lot of the learning has been around how to navigate the fairly significant challenges that the programme has faced, which is namely COVID, and having to kind of pivot midway through, adjusting kind of expectations and realities. So today, in the next few minutes, we're going to hear from 4 component leads on what they've learned through the programme, particularly focused on their individual learning questions. So there will be 4 sessions. They will run concurrently, so there'll be 2 sessions running concurrently. So the session will be 20 minutes long. And so one session will be happening in this main room and one session will be happening in a breakout room. We'll then come back together for a quick debrief on those 2 sessions. So you'll be able to hear a summary of what happened in the room that you were in, but also the room that you weren't in. And then we'll go back into breakout rooms for a further 2 sessions that again will be happening concurrently. So all in all, you'll each have access to 2 sessions, but again, after the second set of sessions, we will come back together and kind of debrief on that. If you are interested to hear more about any of the sessions you weren't able to attend, please do check out the website, as this will have lots of the learning as well as other content. And I guess finally, before I kind of introduce the individual sessions, I wanted to say that i2i was funded to explore what was possible, what was applicable, and what was sustainable in creating more inclusive private sectors in Kenya and Bangladesh. However, the reality was it was a 3-year programme and it's part of a rich history shared across many of the consortium partners and others working in this area. Many of the work that was started under i2i will continue in various forms and iterations. But I guess the message I wanted to share today was to encourage people to kind of take this learning and build off it, engage in discussions, and keep, what was learned in i2i, keep it going, keep building on that evidence base and sharing those findings back into the community. So the first 2 sessions, one of which will be in the main room, as I said, and one of which will be in a breakout room, which will appear in a few seconds. So the first session, which will be happening in the main room, Angel Perez will be discussing building private sector partnerships to build inclusive technology, as I said, in the main room. And this will have Bangla, sign language interpretation and captioning available. In breakout room 1, Amin Lalji will be sharing his team's findings on social protection and piloting an access to work scheme, and this will have captioning and signed interpretation, so no Bangla. So you will have the choice to select one of these 2 rooms. If you would like to stay in the main room and talk about private sector partnerships, please do not click on the link. But if you would like to join Amin to talk about social protection and access to work, please click on the link to join breakout room 1. I will introduce the second set of sessions after these sessions and explain to you what the choices are there. So I think the breakout room sessions should open now.
Just to add that people might need to click on the three dots at the bottom right hand side of their screen that says more to join the breakout room, it seems.
Yes, okay. So if you would like to join the discussion on social protection and access to work, please, yeah, as Sophie says, click on those three dots and click join. Otherwise, you will be staying here and I'll discuss private sector partnerships.
Yes, exactly. So people should have a pop-up window where they can decide if they want to join the separate room or stay here. Just as a reminder, Lisa, you stay in the main room, and Gerdinan, you go to the breakout room. So you need to join the breakout room or the opposite, okay? And then Wim, you stay in the main room. Marina, you go to the breakout room. And final reminder for everyone, Bangla audio interpretation will only be available in the main room, okay? And I just sent you all the 2 links to follow the captioning in English. So you can open them as an external link to follow the subtitles. I see, Claire, a lot of people already joined the breakout room. Some of them stayed here, so maybe you want to start.
Right. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you everyone. And we're just waiting for everyone from the other room to return, and then we'll ask someone from each of the rooms to just give 3 kind of top line feedbacks on their discussions and what's next for their topics. So just give it a couple more seconds. I think we're waiting for a few more. Okay, let's start. So I think Luke is going to give a quick update on what was discussed on private sector engagement for tech. So over to you, Luke.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, so we had a good discussion. Some of the main things that came out of it was, while there are challenges in making platforms more accessible, it also, in some cases, turned out not to be as challenging as was predicted, as well as, improving accessibility actually sort of dovetailed quite nicely with making a service more user-friendly. So there was sort of a lot of benefits to be had there for everyone. As well as this, in relation to e-learning modules, one of the big emphasis was how the content can be improved greatly by involving users, people with disabilities, in feeding back, but also leading on creation of the content as well, ensuring its success. Going forward, looking overall, I think one of the main points that came out of the discussion was use of data in terms of both collecting it, but also analyzing and reacting to it quickly to ensure that we're using it for a purpose, basically. Over to you, Claire.
Awesome, thank you, Luke. And Amin, who will it be from your session? Will it be you?
Yeah, I will. Let me just share my screen. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. Some of the pointers that we deliberate upon, one of the things that we deliberate upon was the aim is participation. For a long time, disability has been connected to poverty, and because of that, inclusive social protection system have been developed in order to reduce poverty. And when we focus ourselves on reduction of poverty, it takes the focus from participation. So we are going from unbundling disability with poverty to the aim of making their participation mandatory in the labor market. Then extra cost of disability is real. We cannot hide from it. And in order for us to develop more inclusive social protection system, it is important that we now build extra cost of disability into all inclusive social protection systems. Then most of the programs in low and middle income countries are poverty targeted. And if we want to change it, then the idea is to make sure that they give economic empowerment to people with disabilities, and not only that, but also reduce the barriers to economic empowerment, which is basically the focus of poverty in people with disabilities. Then healthcare costs, including rehabilitation assistive devices, which through our research has been shown to be the highest cost for people with disabilities, should be covered throughout the life cycle, whether it's childhood, whether it's working people with disabilities, or in the old age. All these three categories, healthcare cost and rehabilitation and assistive devices cost, should be covered for all people with disabilities. Then one size doesn't fit all. If we develop a cash transfer scheme, it doesn't mean that a cash transfer scheme is the only way. We need to develop and explore possibilities of not only cash transfer scheme, but in-kind schemes, health insurance scheme, in order to make sure that people with disabilities have access to the labor markets, and the extra cost of disability is basically addressed in inclusive social protection. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, both. So we'll now move on to our second two sessions of discussing learnings from the programme. Again, these will be 20-minute sessions, one of which will happen in the main room and one of which will happen in the breakout room. So in the main room, the team from BBDN will be discussing what they've learned about supporting the private sector in Bangladesh to become more inclusive. So that will be the main room, and that will have Bangla, sign interpretation and captioning available. And in the breakout room, which again you can access through clicking the three little dots and the button at the bottom, join breakout room, Jazz Shaban will be focusing on OPD partners who co-authored the learning document, Data-Driven Advocacy for Inclusive Employment and Social Protection. And in this room, there will be captioning and sign interpretation. So that's the breakout room. So main room will be BBDN discussing private sector, and Jazz will be in the breakout room discussing OPD engagement in data-driven advocacy. So please make your choices now.
Okay, so I see everyone is joining the breakout room. We can give you a few more seconds. If anyone cannot manage to join the breakout room session, please let me know through the chat box. Again, the main room will have Bangla, English interpretation, not in the breakout session, and international sign interpretation and subtitling are available in both rooms. So you can start already. Thank you.
We're a few minutes behind, so hopefully we can make up some time. Yeah, we should be having the breakout room joining us momentarily.
Everyone is back now, Claire.
Okay, super. So Mateza, I will hand over to you, or whoever you've appointed to do your kind of 3 key takeaways from your session.
Sure. I would say in terms of key takeaways that we spoke about, especially going forward in terms of how do we take some of our key learnings and activities, really looking at the the stakeholder map in the country, the fact that we have employers associations and chambers of commerce in different parts of the country. We have OPDs that are also working in different parts of the country. A desire for the two sides to come more closely together. I think how we facilitate that going forward will be important, and it can really work as also a way to sustainably keep stakeholders connected. Next to that, of course, there's a big focus on demand-driven skills development, both in terms of hard skills and soft skills, as that is something employers are really looking for in terms of creating access to employment. So how we can ensure more inclusive skills building going forward that's targeted towards the needs of the specific employers who we're trying to work with. And finally, how enablers such as social protection, the accessibility, including the digital solutions, the necessary advocacy with policymakers, how all that around inclusive skills and employment can be strengthened to support that ecosystem of actors. Those would be sort of the three key areas that we would like to emphasize. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And over to you, Jazz, for your key takeaways.
That's great. Thanks, Claire. Okay. Well, we actually had mostly NGO and stakeholders in our small but very succinct group. Oh, I had started my video. Sorry, I will start it again. There we go. So our three key takeaways were around supporting and enabling OBDs to actually lead the work. That isn't really rocket science, but sometimes it is. And that's really about enabling them to be supported in driving the process. So going to where they are and actually listening to what it is that they need and want to do in processes. The second one was very much about looking at the power dynamics and that can, and the challenge for that, who holds the power when it comes to developing programs and where the lead comes from that. And then the third one, given the program was very much set against the backdrop of COVID, it was about ensuring that we planned for the adaptability and for shocks, and very much looking to the OPDs on advice on how to pivot was really important, and how to develop and respond to that. Those were our three main key points. And I guess the fourth one, which isn't a key point, is much more about what next in terms of how we would develop, which is about ensuring that learning is assessed against measured impacts, or rather, measured against impacts, so that we can do better strategy development in the future. That's us.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I will hand back over to Sophie. That is the end of our kind of targeted learning session.
Thank you very much, Claire. And thank you very much, everyone, for your active participation. We had quite a lot of discussion in the room I was in, so hopefully that was shared across both of the rooms. I'm now going to very quickly move us on, as we're running a couple of minutes behind schedule, and Luke has prepared some fun questions for us before we move into the final segment of this webinar. So over to you, Luke.
Sophie, yeah, we'll just have a few questions if we're ready, Raquel.
Yes.
So, which of our prospective event titles do you like the best? We have Careering Towards Success, Good Job, Inclusion Evolution, New Career Journeys, Pathways to Career Success, The Right Tools for the Job. Pick your favorites.
I can close it, look, whenever you say.
Please, yeah. Well, I'm glad a lot of you did like the one that we chose. That's the main thing. And moving on, how many meetings do we have to plan this event? 12, 15, 17, 19. Yeah, that'll do, Raquel. Big split. We actually had 17, so, and it may have been more, but 17 is the number I came up with. And finally, what was the overall reach of the program in terms of people we engaged with? 5,858, 10,942, 11,656, or 20,348. Yeah, that will do, Raquel. Again, pretty good split. We, according to our numbers, we reached 11,656. So very good score, some way to go. I'll hand back to Sophie. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luke. Well, I'm glad that we held enough meetings to choose the right name, as it was the most popular one with all of our participants. And yes, it's really great to see how many people the programme has reached over the last 3 years. I'm now going to ask Saku Mappa to speak. Saku is the Director of Innovation and UK Programme Delivery at Leonard Cheshire. And she's been working in the development sector for over 20 years and initially joined Leonard Cheshire to lead the i2i consortium. She led through the co-creation phase and the first half of the programme implementation. So we felt that it was appropriate to hand over to Saku to close our final learning event with her thoughts and reflections on what the i2i programme has achieved over the past 3 years. So Saku, I hand over to you for this reflection.
Thanks, Sophie, and thanks for the opportunity to say a few words. And it's been really nice to see everyone who's been working on the project as well. So just to sort of like, reflecting a little bit on the journey that the project has taken. Open societies supporting economic empowerment for persons with disability are critical for us to stay on track to eliminate extreme poverty by 2030. And as we heard today, businesses play a key role in creating an inclusive society. The private sector provides 9 out of 10 jobs in developing countries. And as an engine of economic growth and job creation, the business sector needs to adopt diverse and inclusive practices so we are not leaving behind the most marginalized and vulnerable, which includes over 1 billion people with disabilities. Similarly, social protection systems play a critical role in laying foundations for many persons with disabilities to enter and stay in employment. By ensuring that persons with disability have income security, that their disability-related needs and extra costs are met, and they have effective access to healthcare services, these systems can significantly promote their participation in the labor market and society at large. And today we heard some of the solutions that have been piloted during the last 3 years to promote access to inclusive employment models.
I'm sorry, can you please close? You're going way too fast. You can please go. That'd be great, thanks.
Sorry, okay, thought I was being slow. So today we heard some of the solutions piloted during the 3 years to promote access to inclusive employment models and inclusive social protection policymaking. And persons with disability and organizations of persons with disability are central to creating these sustainable solutions. So for example, the program worked with organizations of persons with disability to adopt a data-driven advocacy approach to hold governments to account on global and national commitments. The i2i consortium has been also addressing some of the challenges faced by people with disability to access employment, but by testing technology and digital-based solutions. So technology has enabled persons with disability to engage in employability skills development and access jobs. These approaches enable decentralization of resources and have become increasingly relevant in the COVID-19 context of social distancing and remote working. But at the same time, it's also important to be mindful of the challenges when testing these digital solutions. So the risk relating to, for example, digital divide, data bias concerns, stigma can be minimized. Meaningful engagement of persons with disability during the solution design process is what we have heard being the game changer in i2i to make these solutions truly accessible and inclusive. When persons with disability in Kenya and Bangladesh co-created the digital employment pathway almost 4 years ago with consortium partners and technology companies, we didn't know that COVID-19 was going to change our world. However, we know now that these solutions conceptualized during a pre-COVID era is even more relevant now, and it ensured that persons with disability were not left behind with the rapid technology and digital approaches that changed the labor market since COVID-19. So from the stories that were shared today with us and throughout sort of like the different webinar sessions that i2i has been having, it's clear that the program has changed the disability ecosystem. It has influenced the systems and structures in the labor market with access to disaggregated data, inclusive policy making, a private sector that is better aware of the needs of persons with disability, and a skilled pool of persons with disability entering the labor market. So yes, staying true to its name, innovation has enabled inclusion. So persons with disability in low and middle income countries can fully participate in society and enjoy equal access and have choice and control over economic opportunities. So finally, what I would just like to end with is to say that, we know what works and we know how to make things work. So let's continue to build on our collective achievements and scale up so we don't leave behind anyone. Thanks, Sophie, and really nice to see everyone again.
Thank you so much, Saku. Thank you. And yes, I think really powerful words and really key, really important to frame the key achievements and how the programme has adapted and moved forward with the changing times that we've seen over the last 3 years. So thank you very much for that wrap up. And hopefully this won't be the end, although the programme is ending. Hopefully this is just the starting point, and from the learning of this programme, we will continue to contribute and to build a more inclusive and accessible workplace for women and men with disabilities. So apologies, we're running a few minutes over, but this is the end of our event and the end of the i2i programme. And with that, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our partners and all of the contributors towards our programme. And as I mentioned, there is much more work to be done, and we really hope that this programme contributes to the continuing and ongoing efforts. I particularly want to thank our panellists today and the organisers at EDF who have been working frantically behind the scenes to make sure that this webinar runs smoothly. I want to thank other consortium members, and I also want to say a huge thank you to the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, who have funded the i2i programme over the last 3 years. And of course, I need to say a huge thank you to our captioner and interpreters. And lastly, just a reminder that you will see a link to a post-event survey, and we would very much appreciate if you could take just a couple of minutes to complete this, and it helps us improve events for the future. Thank you once again, and wishing you all a really good day.